it partly came out of my first full-length play, which was produced by Primary Stages, called Bobber Boys. So that was one seed. The other was Kathy Boudin's appeal for parole to get out of Bedford Hills Correctional Institution. Kathy was a member of SDS, Weathermen, Weather Underground. She had been in prison for, I think, about 20 years, and her parole had become a political lightning rod for all these unresolved conflicts from those days. So I put the two together, and a play was born. It seems like the government learned certain lessons from the Vietnam experience that are not the lessons one would hope they learned. First of all, to conduct a war without conscripted soldiers, all volunteer soldiers, to embed the journalists, as they called it, to make sure that the journalists didn't have free rein. To my mind, that's learning the wrong lessons of Vietnam as opposed to what I call the right lessons, which would be that when we interfere in the internal affairs of another country, it generally leads to terrible suffering and death. What dismays me is that, in general, there seems to be far less public outrage. You know, that baffles me. What's different? Some people would argue what's different is 9/11. Part of the strategy of the anti-war mobilization during the Vietnam days was to bring home the war, to bring home the reality of war. And people would say, when you have the World Trade Center, no need to bring the war home. It's already happened. There's a surface logic to that, but it's dishonest because the people who did that, who perpetrated 9/11, had nothing to do with Iraq. I think that the protesters were effective. Were they also solipsistic in a way in their politics? Was it about them trying to overcome their bourgeois middle-class origins? Yeah, that's a big factor too, and I think you can reduce a lot of politics to psychology if you want to. In the instant global media age, it's an added responsibility for protesters to realize that something you say, something you do, could turn up hours later in Al Jazeera and be used in a way that you didn't intend. Is that a reason to do nothing, to say nothing? Not at all. But it's an added responsibility. All these things, I guarantee you, will be issues in the coming election. I hope that the play is timely. I think it is. You know, I feel like these things are all in the air, and I think as soon as we settle on a candidate for the Democrats, then we're going to. I think the guns are going to come out. I think the warfare and all these issues that we thought had been resolved, all these wounds we thought had been ended, are going to turn out to be very fresh.
Soldier, I got soul, but I'm not a soldier. I got soul, but I'm not a soldier.